Hello again, and welcome to part two of my conversation with Lisa Decker, who shared her story about suddenly losing her husband when his heart stopped while they were in their car running errands. I'm Maria Tomás-Keegan, your host of Tips for the Transition. These interviews are one way I offer resources to my clients and followers because I'm passionate about helping women move beyond coping and surviving major life events so they can turn the experience into a lesson and begin to thrive again. Thank you, Lisa, for sharing your story. This is just 1 year from the event of losing your husband. What has the first year revealed for you?
Oh, my Lord. I have learned so much about strength and resilience and overcoming obstacles and love, gratitude, blessings. Amidst the grief, there have been tremendous blessings, and I think that those have been immensely healing. Being able to know that others are out there being supportive. I can't imagine someone going through grief and not having a good support network. And for me, not only my personal friends and family, but also my Facebook friends. I never intended to share this journey. I'm just one that will write and express my thoughts, and it started right in the emergency room when I was asking people to pray, not knowing there was the outcome yet, waiting for the doctor to come in, and the heartfelt blessings started coming right away. And after I shared the news of what had happened, and my husband had passed, they continued, and friends, family, and strangers alike came out from everywhere and were so kind, so giving, so supportive, that it really, sometimes it was the wind beneath my wings, literally. It lifted me up during those darkest of days. And the middle of the night, sometimes when I couldn't sleep, I'd go back and read people's comments to just give me a little boost to keep me going. So I have experienced many blessings among the grief.
That's amazing. I followed you as a friend of yours as you shared your journey on Facebook, and it was compelling to me. It was inspiring to me that you were able to write what was going on in your moment to moment. It almost felt like, for me, as I read what you wrote, and you shared the rocks, the heart rocks that you found in so many places along the way, and for this first year. Tell us more about those rocks.
Well, the rocks have been absolutely incredible. In fact, I have experienced this knowing now beyond a shadow of a doubt that love does not die. It's the only thing we can take with us. I truly believe that. And so many mystical, magical, supernatural things have happened that I have absolutely zero doubt that we can continue to have this connection with those that we love and care about, and they can connect with us as well. We have to be open to receiving and believing in order for it to happen. And how it started for me was simply magical. I will tell you that it started the very first night. I never slept the first night. I didn't sleep for almost 2 full days. And the second night, when I finally went to turn in to go to bed, I shut off the light, and I noticed the room was absolutely pitch black. And I normally have ambient light coming through the bedroom window, and it kind of startled me. It disoriented me. So I turned the light back on, and I got myself back into bed and situated, and I reached over and turned out the light again. And immediately, these little twinkles of light surrounded me and startled me. I was kind of unnerved and afraid for just a split second. And then I realized this was something good. I still don't know whether it was God, angels, Ron, I don't know, what it was, but it felt safe. And these lights just twinkled around me, and I laid back on my pillow, and as I laid down, an orange orb, a glowing light, came and rested upon my chest, and I pulled the covers up over it, and I put my hands over it, and immediately fell asleep. And I felt safe, and all was okay. The next day when I got up, I decided that I was going to walk down to the lake behind our home, and I started talking to him out loud. I said, Ron, I know you're still with me. I can feel you. To lose someone very suddenly and tragically, neither one of us were ready for what happened. Neither one of us expected it. And I felt that he wasn't ready to go either. So I talked to him and I said, I want you to send me a sign. And the sign that I want you to send me is a heart-shaped rock. And I asked for that because I've always been a rock lover. He called me a rockhead lovingly. And so I knew that that would be something that, he might be able to do. And I was expecting something the size of the palm of my hand. And I went, and when I get to the backyard, I can go left or right. And I went my normal path to the left, and I walked up and down the beach, and there was nothing there. But I knew, I could feel there was something there waiting for me from him. And I had to go to the right to find it. The problem was that there's a large creek that runs through it, and it was all mucky, and I had to trudge through the muck, getting stuck in the muck, to get to the other side. But it was well worth it, because shortly after I crossed over, I saw it laying in the sand, the most amazing heart rock. And all of the rocks around it that were the same formation were big boulders. And so my heart stopped for a minute, because I thought, well, it's probably going to be embedded deep in the sand and I won't be able to get it out. But when I lifted it, it was this thin, and here's the rock. This amazing heart rock. And it's difficult to see probably in the video, but his initials are etched in this. When I posted this picture on Facebook, people started to tell me they could see writing, and then they were the ones that pointed it out to me, that his initials are his name, R-O-N, is literally etched in this rock. So this is the most amazing gift to me, and I will treasure it forever. And ever since that day, Maria, the rocks, the hearts of all kinds keep coming. And not just me finding them, but them finding their way to me from other people. People have sent them to me from around the world. This one here, I just found recently. I ran away on my, what I call life escape. And I don't know if you can see this amazing thing. It looks like it's an asteroid or something. This one here, I was telling this story at a workshop that I went to, an experiential healing workshop, and a man heard my story and went home that night and found this pink rock on a table at the top of his stairs. And when he came in the next day, he gave me this, and he said, I never saw that there before. I asked my wife where it came from. She said she didn't know, and they both agreed it was meant for me. So these are the kinds of things that keep happening. And, I see them in the air, in the sea. It's just amazing. And I am so blessed because of that. And I want people to know that I believe we can all get these signs from those who have passed on if we are open to allowing that to happen. Too many times we close it off. We think, oh, that's strange, or maybe that's a coincidence, or that didn't really happen. We're afraid of it, whatever. But I embraced it, and I look for it. I lovingly open my arms to it and allow it to come. And therefore they continue to come.
And Lisa, you asked for it.
Yes.
And that's something I think we as women just have a hard time with, asking for what we want.
Truly.
And you asked for it, and you got it. And I love that story. I love that story. How else has this first year been for you?
Well, it's been a year of trying to find my feet on the ground again, as I put it, because when you are hit with such a sudden loss, you and I were talking about this a little bit earlier, sometimes when we lose people, such as my father, you know, he had multiple myeloma cancer, it was expected. It was almost a blessing to see him out of pain and no longer suffering. And there's a difference when you can say your goodbyes and prepare for something like that. But when you are hit with a sudden loss, it is a much different story. And so with that, I found that it took me some time to feel a solid foundation under me again. And there's this roller coaster of emotions that you go through from one minute to the next. You know, you may be happy one minute and crying the next, and you may be angry, and you may feel angry with God. You may feel let down with the situation that has happened in your life. And then the next moment, may have someone walk in and say something so beautiful that you just feel so immensely grateful and blessed. And it is a roller coaster of emotions, a tsunami sometimes that can come over you. And what I've learned as well is to let it go and let it flow, actually, to let that go, because I don't believe in stifling those emotions. No matter what you're going through, you have to experience them in order for them to not take hold of you.
I agree so much. That is such an important lesson to share. And it doesn't really matter what the transition is. Whenever we go through some traumatic event in our lives, the emotions come, and they come in full force. And then, you know, as time goes on, they ebb and flow. And it's important that we recognize them, that we acknowledge them. I so agree with you, and that we give them the time they need, and they'll dictate that, won't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
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 And they come at very inopportune times as well. I can remember a couple of times in the grocery store just sitting down and sobbing, and it was what I needed to do. And I didn't try to suspend that. I needed to let it just flow. Yeah. And so I think, you know, if you're dealing with grief yourself or someone you know, people sometimes will say things like, well, you know, it's time to get over it. Put it behind you, people have said to me. And that's sometimes easier said than done. There's no timeline for that. And I don't think you ever put something behind you. It just, the effects of it soften over time. You know, you have to allow grief to work at its own time frame.
Yeah, I agree.
You don't want to be stuck in it forever. And there are things that you can do to help yourself. I don't think that's healthy if you're still dealing with the same level of grief years later. But, you know, you don't want to stifle emotions. And there are days still when I just need a good cry, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah. So being kind to yourself was something you had to learn to do. Yes?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And not trying to take care of it all and do it all, you know, allowing others to help as well.
Being gentle. Yeah. I love that. Thank you for sharing those lessons. I think they'll help a lot of people who, as you said, I think it's healthier for us to move through the grief process rather than stay stuck in the early, and that's easy to do in the early phases of that. But I think we ultimately never move beyond it, but kind of integrate it.
Absolutely.
Into who we are now, because it changes us.
Yes, it does. It truly does. And I will say that some of the things that I did this year, I call them the therapeutic modalities, really helped as well. I took advantage of every single thing that I could that came across my radar in order to help myself heal. Not only did I go to a grief group and see a grief counselor, but I did things like EMDR and another thing called genetic voice printing that was very powerful. I did a psychodrama weekend that was experiential and extremely valuable and very mystical as well. There were some incredible things that happened there. I've done energy healing, and I recently came back from taking a month off and doing what I call a life escape. And during that time, I attended a retreat center for Ayurvedic healing. So, you know, whatever things we can do to help ourselves heal, it's so vitally important, because what I have found is that no one thing did the healing in itself, but each thing was like peeling back a layer of an onion and allowed more of the next thing to penetrate and be helpful and do its work. And so I've been doing a lot of the work this year, and I found that it's been tremendously helpful to accelerate my healing.
That's so important for people to hear, Lisa. I'm so glad you shared that, because the modalities may be different for everyone. So what you're open to and what someone else may be open to may be different.
Sure.
But it's the desire to heal first, and then searching for those modalities or those experiences that will work for you.
Absolutely.
And then staying open to allowing them, asking for the help, and allowing yourself to receive it.
You know, I have this saying, it's perfect with what you just said. This came to me many years ago, but it's like a life motto that I go by. And it's ask, allow, accept, believe, and you will receive.
Yeah.
And you really need to do all of those in order to manifest whatever it is that you're desiring. And in my case, it's for healing. And so that's perfectly tied with what you just said.
Absolutely. That's great. That's great. Thank you for sharing that. So we went a little longer on this segment than we intended, but this is great stuff, Lisa. I'm so glad that you shared that. I just want to stop here, if we could, and let's prepare our listeners for what's coming next. Do you want to share that with us?
Yes, we are going to talk about some of the lessons that I learned along the way, and things that I wished I had done differently, and things that I did right, and hopefully people will learn some valuable information so that they can leave a legacy of love.
That's beautiful. And I know you're also going to tell us how this has affected how you work with your own clients, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
Actually,
right.
yes.
All right, so everyone just prepare for tomorrow. We will share the continuation and the wrap-up of my chat with Lisa Decker. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Maria Tomás-Keegan. Till next time.